All year round, Frontier Home Products and Design has what you need to make your home comfortable and beautiful. Relax on a new timber tech deck designed by Frontier's experts. A new fireplace from Frontier Home Products Fireplace Gallery adds warmth and serenity to any home. Beauty and versatility at Frontier Home Products and Design Center, 4213 Peachtree, East 5th, next to the Bayfront Highway.
Frontier Home Products and Design Center. Discover a new frontier.
PA contractor number PA039007.
From baggage claim to pajamas in 10 minutes. Erie International Airport. Fly with ERI.com.
Fly Erie International Airport to Charlotte on American Airlines, your nonstop gateway to the world. Also, we have Breeze Airways flying nonstop to Orlando and Tampa, Florida. A great low-cost carrier providing excellent service to the regional community. Fly Erie International for your travel needs.
Fly with ERI.com.
Welcome to TalkErie.com's Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast. Every day, we tackle the biggest issues that the Erie, PA region faces. Stay informed and involved as we advance the narrative of Erie. Now, here's Joel Natale.
We have the crucial conversations that Erie needs every day here on the show, and staying alert and being aware during an emergency is hugely important. So we're here to learn more about the new Genesis Alert emergency notification system being stood up here by the Erie County, and we're glad to have with us here in studio the Director of Public Safety, John Durlin. John, welcome to the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You got it here. And we have the countywide engagement officer, John Stehlin, is with us. John, good to see you, sir.
Hey there.
All righty. Let's, John Durlin, let's get an origin story. We've heard from John before, but I'm going to get to John's.
Yes.
But where did you come up? Are you a native of Erie County, or did you transplant in?
Yeah, I lived in Erie County my whole life. Worked for the Department of Public Safety for 17 years.
Where did you go to high school?
Fort LaBeouf.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
My son now goes to General McLean.
Okay, there you go. And, out in the county south of 90, that's where all the weather generally happens, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Even this past weekend, most of it was south of 90.
Yeah. The when you think about coming up in Waterford, actually, I'm old enough to remember the Albion tornadoes in '85, but we've had a lot of different activities, and not just weather. You think about just some of the other things that you deal with. What is public safety in your department encompass? What's the scope of it?
Yeah, Erie County Department of Public Safety, there's really three main functions. One is emergency management, one is 911 communications, and one is hazardous materials. So that's kind of what is encompassed. All 911 calls in Erie County go to the Erie County 911 Center, and they're dispatched out of there. Emergency management is more after the emergency happens, and preparedness, recovery, response, all of those kind of things. Hazardous materials, the only team north of I-80 in Pennsylvania is housed in Erie County. So luckily they don't get a lot of work, but they are a certified hazardous materials team.
Now, is that team on site at the Emergency Operations Center, or are they made of like firemen and other people that work somewhere else?
Yeah, kind of a combination of both.
Okay.
So the emergency management coordinator, who is a county employee, is the manager of the team.
Okay.
And then they are made up of volunteers who are firefighters, certified hazardous materials technicians.
Okay, I kind of almost hesitate to ask the question, but generally on our trains and on our trucks, what kind of hazardous materials are coming through the county?
Yeah, a lot of stuff with a lot of letters in their names that are hard to pronounce. Luckily, the emergency management department does prepare for that.
Yeah.
They do rail safety plans, things like that, mitigation. So they are planning for that.
But like the East Liverpool thing could happen here.
Yeah, the same train tracks run through, for sure.
Yeah. Again, that horrific situation in Ohio there, right? So it's something that we always have to be aware of. So this is what you guys manage up there.
Correct.
And in emergency management.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So the talking about these potential emergencies and hazardous materials is a great segue into Genesis that we're talking about. If there was an emergency on something like the railway that had a hazardous material spill, a system like Genesis would be used to alert those individuals close to there that they needed to evacuate.
So what did we do before this new technology? Heck, frankly, sending an alert through our phones is relatively new itself, right?
Sure. So when I first started at the Erie County 911 Center, there was a system called Reverse 911. Okay. And it would make phone calls, but that's based on landline telephones. The vast majority of the time, nobody answered those calls, nobody got the message. The old standby is the fire department going door to door, knocking on doors, saying you need to evacuate, which obviously isn't the most efficient. Genesis is, the better, more efficient combination of all of those things.
Okay, and so let's talk about how the alert delivers notifications.
Sure. There's a multitude of ways. The three primary are voice, which would be your telephone, text message, which would come across your cell phone, and then email. It does automatically publish to the Erie County Department of Public Safety Facebook page as well. So if you were to register and sign up, you choose how you want to receive those alerts. You can get a voice phone call, which would be a recorded message telling you what the emergency is, a text message, and an email, which are self-explanatory.
Talk about the geolocation, or I guess the word is geofencing. How do you direct, let's say, if there's a boil water situation happening in Cranesville, which there isn't right now, but we're just, for one specific municipality or one specific water authority, how does that work for Genesis?
Yeah, so when you register, you can select addresses. You can select your home address, you can enter your work address, and then you would get alerted at those addresses. You would also get alerted by your geographic location for some alerts. So over this past weekend, there was a severe thunderstorm warning that was issued by the National Weather Service. Those alerts automatically pushed out through Genesis to the people that had registered. The first alert was for the western part of Erie County. So the system automatically drew a polygon and sent alerts to those residents. The next alert, which was about 20 to 30 minutes later, was for the eastern part of the county. System automatically drew that polygon and sent alerts to those people.
Now, was that redundant, though, of what the emergency alert system or what the National Weather Service would have done?
It is to a certain extent.
Okay.
You could, with the Genesis, you could pick all those locations. So, I live in McCain Township. My parents live in Mill Village. So if I'm at home in McCain Township, I'm going to get an alert that affects me. If I have elderly parents that I need to look after or something like that, then I can sign up and put that address in as an alternate location and get alerts for there as well.
So if you're controlling, multiple convenience stores,
right,
you could put every convenience store address in there, huh?
Right. There's probably 73 Dollar Generals in Erie County.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So if you were maybe the manager of Dollar General or something like that, then you could put all those locations in there, yes.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for one to just get put right here. No, just joking. We're talking about this Erie County alert system, and you've got municipalities, geographic areas. Who can originate an emergency alert?
Yeah, so those alerts will come from the Department of Public Safety.
Okay.
And that's an important distinction because, before we started this conversation, we were talking about the weather event that happened over the weekend and some misinformation that had been shared on social media about tornadoes and things like that. So one thing about Genesis is that is coming from the Department of Public Safety. So if you get an alert that says there is this hazardous situation, that means that is factual.
Wow. Okay. So if I am running the water authority in Cranesville, is that the workflow that I'm calling you?
Yeah, so each municipality in Erie County has what's called a local emergency management coordinator.
Okay.
So that emergency management coordinator would be in contact with the county Department of Public Safety. That's how that decision would be made. Emergency responders, like a fire department. We're in the city of Erie right now. If there was a situation that occurred, that fire department would contact Erie County Department of Public Safety, and that decision to send that alert would be made.
And that's a 24/7 situation?
Yeah, obviously the 911 center is staffed 24/7.
Okay.
The 911 center has a supervisor on duty 24/7. One of the benefits of Genesis too is that I could log into my iPad from right here and I could send that alert. So if the 911 center supervisor contacted me and said we have this situation, either they could send that alert, I could send that alert, the emergency management coordinator could send it.
So how fast do you think that could go? Let's say, again, there's a East Liverpool type of situation.
Sure.
You want to seconds are meaningful, right? I mean,
Sure. Weather alerts automatically go out.
Okay.
National Weather Service sends it, it automatically goes out. When we would manually send an alert, there are templates built in there. There's probably 50 templates in there. So fill in a few words, select who you want to send it to. I would say 2 minutes.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And again, you're probably getting data from first responders at the scene of, a major accident. I mean, I would think that would a major accident kind of trigger something if it was?
Yeah, it could, most likely for a road closure.
Oh, okay,
so
sure.
Avoid this area, that kind of thing. There are some areas where if traffic gets backed up, it's a bad situation. So it could be as simple as saying avoid this area. Gas leaks are a big deal. There's a lot of times.
Even like a residential gas leak.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Like if a contractor were to accidentally break a gas line. I'm sure everybody has seen videos on the internet of houses exploding. Those are the kind of situations where sometimes you have to evacuate a neighborhood. So this is a situation where the fire department would say, we're going to evacuate this neighborhood. Normally they would have to go door to door, knock on the doors and say it's time to leave. So that's where they would ask us to send that alert.
Yeah, it almost makes you wonder with that huge fire on 12th Street over Christmas, if that would have been, considering people needed to stay away.
Right.
You had like 18 departments responding or something like that.
Yeah, and every incident like that has an incident commander. So that
Okay.
incident commander would be in constant communication with the 911 center, and they would make that decision.
So are you guys like always training this stuff
Yeah,
with
for sure.
as you go down the tree, if you will?
Yeah, so what we do is every week, a different one of our supervisors sends out a test alert. So throughout the year, every single week, 52 weeks in a row, somebody has sent a test alert. We have been testing this system for the last, 6 months.
Wow.
So we're pretty confident that in that situation, they know how to use it.
We're talking to John Durlin. He is the Director of Public Safety, and John Stehlin is also with us here, Countywide Engagement Officer. John Stehlin, weigh in on this here a little bit because, again, you're a broadcaster, I'm a broadcaster. We've been living. I remember EBS, and then it became EAS 30 years ago.
Sure. Things have changed. Even, when I started with weather, it was dot matrix, printers printing off weather models all the time. Even
Bulletin or flash, right?
And as I remember WICU, we got our first weather system in 93 or so. It was called Skycast, and it was like showing the satellites and all that. Before that, we had to take whatever NBC would give us. And remember the old radar, which black with green pixels all over it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so technology is changing, and of course, I love the weather component of Genesis, obviously, but as the Countywide Engagement Officer, it's more encompassing. So the technology is great. I guess, and from my standpoint, informing people as quickly as possible, and, as John said, which is so important, it's coming from us. Mm-hmm. If you see the alert from Genesis, that means something's going on, and it also the National Weather Service, obviously, with that. Well, we can talk about signing up later, but I would tell you if you do sign up, you'll see a phone number that comes through. You may want to resave that. So when you get that first alert, resave it to Erie County Alerts or Alert, so that it doesn't look like scam.
Okay.
It doesn't look like a scam call.
Yeah, save that contact, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, definitely save that contact. So when you see the text come in or the phone call come in, we're working a lot of. You might hear my voice on a few of them.
Okay.
Coming on in, or you will hear a generic one from the National Weather Service because those are so instant. There.
Terrific. Let's talk about registering. Why should somebody register, John?
Yeah, like we talked about, a big thing is being able to put in those multiple phone numbers, addresses. A lot of people have 2 cell phones. They have a home phone. Being able to put in your work address, your home address, your relative's address. And
Kids' school, huh?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Municipalities, you could go in there and say, send me all the alerts for the city of Erie, that kind of thing. And obviously just being able to get that information as fast as possible. I think preparedness and being ready when that emergency happens is kind of the most important thing. You mentioned, the Albion tornado in 85. I think that the history shows as that storm came across from Ohio, the places that were prepared for that had the best success rate.
Wow. Yeah, again, so many different touchdowns and so on. All right, so what would you suggest the first step people should do in order to sign up to get these alerts?
Yeah, go to the Erie County website, eriecountypa.gov. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a bell that says alerts. Click on that alert bell, and it takes you right to the sign-up page.
And let me add, if you do it via the phone through the browser on the phone, there will be a drop-down menu. So when you go to eriecountypa.gov, you're going to see they call it the hamburger. I don't know why they call it the hamburger, but it's the 3 lines.
You're right, the 3 lines, yeah.
The 3 lines. You touch that will be a drop-down, and then you'll see that same alert icon on the bottom left hand.
We're going to do this right now in real time here. So I'm going to the county website on my iPhone, and I see the 3 bars, and at the very lower corner of that blue box is alert. Mm-hmm. And so it says Erie County PA alert, to register, to reset your password. So I actually have to register, right? That's what we need to do. So we click here, and then it has the box below. You got to scroll up and then fill out the information, and you're going to want to pick the address. I think when I did this, I did think it's important that you pick the address that the database has.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And so that you're actually picking, because every address in America is in this database, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you really don't want to register, there is a Genesis Protect app that you can download. And what that does is it uses the GPS location of your cell phone. So you would get alerts where you are based, but you would not be able to say, send me alerts for my parents' house, that kind of thing. So registering definitely gives you more benefits, but if you really don't want to register, then the Genesis Protect app is still an option.
And you can go to the App Store or Google Play for it, and it's free. So we do want to stress that we do know that there is notification fatigue in this world,
Right.
And of course, I was part of that, being with Erie News Now and First Warning Weather. From the weather standpoint, we, John and his team has decided, and of course we agree, it's only going to be for severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado watches, and flood warnings, correct?
Yeah.
So if there's heat advisories and all that other stuff, you're probably not going to get. We don't want to inundate people. And as a weather person, I can appreciate that. I mean, that was one of the biggest complaints we got. You're always texting us. We're not going to do that. So if there is an emergency and if you save the contact as Erie County Alerts, you know something's going on.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. The registration is there, and it's interesting. Some of the other alerts that you might get is a evacuation alert or a shelter in place alert. Would that be the case for active shooting kind of scenario?
Yeah.
And then again,
absolutely.
is that there's a incident commander for something like that from law enforcement that would talk to you guys?
Yeah. So if we use incidents that have actually happened in Erie County, last summer there was a swatting incident where at a business somebody made a swatting call that said that there was hostages being held inside that business. So the police department had to go room by room and clear that business with their guns drawn. The employees of that business had no idea that the police were even there. So this is the kind of circumstance where you would want to have a way to alert all those employees that this is the situation that's going on. Wow. They walk around a corner, law enforcement is there thinking there's a hostage situation, that could have a bad result. So in that situation, the incident commander from that police department could say, send this alert to this area.
Get paid to drive. Start a new career behind the wheel at the EMTA. If you are looking for a high-paying and rewarding career with full benefits and paid training, stop by or apply online today with the EMTA. Plus, EMTA riders can now enjoy free Wi-Fi on new, clean, and environmentally friendly buses to travel all over Erie County. Visit ridethee.com for more information.
Get on board EMTA. Get on board EMTA. Get
At Quickfill, what matters most is that our customers, our communities, and our heroes are taken care of. We start by providing American-made gasoline, which means you can buy local, keeping America and your communities strong. We also support vital charities every year and hold Operation Give Thanks each November to help provide a better future for our veterans and their families. We're proud to support the communities we live and work in, and we're doing our best every day to make our towns a better place. Quickfill, driving America.
Looking for amazing finds and incredible deals? Visit Erie City Mission Thrift today. From stylish clothes and shoes to quality furniture and home goods, you'll discover something new each time while changing lives right here in Erie. It's shopping that feels good and does good. Come see us in Erie and Girard. Erie City Mission Thrift. Thrift with a purpose.
Let's make sure that we put out any misinformation. John, John Stehlin, you were talking about just some of the things that people are working with. You're not selling this data. Like, this is, once you register, it's secure.
It's very secure. It's very locked up. You know, obviously we kind of know. I mean, not we. The government knows where you live anyway. But we don't sell that information to you. It's really voluntary, so you can be rest assured no one's tracking you or following you, or we're selling that information. So please understand that. And as John can attest to, we had the ability to just do it, right?
Yeah, we could have imported third-party data from, cell phone records, things like that. We chose not to do that because we wanted this to be a system that people opted into. If they want to get the alerts, they can sign up. If not, they don't have to be inundated with them.
And you're not going to be inundated. That's the beauty of this. If you get the alert, it means something is happening. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, very important. Look, we're all transients now, meaning that we're not home. We're out in the park. We're on a boat. We're here and there. And you say, well, other cell phones, they do this and do that. But the beauty of it, it's coming not necessarily, and nothing against news organizations.
Yeah.
When it comes from us, it means it's happening, it's legit, and it's factual.
So for the text, let me make sure I'm clear. For the older folks that don't like to have a smartphone, you can get an SMS text.
Correct.
And that'll come to their, to their big button phone.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Or
that's
iPad.
What's that? Or their iPad. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The other thing that we wanted to throw in there too is that it does have the ability to do two-way communication. So you mentioned the SMS text.
Mm-hmm.
So there are situations where maybe an alert would go out and we would need feedback from the people that received that.
Wow.
As an example, on Black Friday of 2024, there was a horrific snowstorm. There were a lot of people that were trapped in vehicles in the middle of the road. You can send out an alert that says the road is closed, you're stranded. And then they would have the ability to respond back and say, I'm okay, I need help, that kind of thing. So another very important feature.
Was that kind of one of those impetuses to say, hey, we need a system here?
Yeah.
Because that kind of snuck up on everybody,
right.
didn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Snowmageddon there. I know it certainly snuck up on the ability to clear it after a week's time or more. Yeah, that was something else. Your office there was kind of command central, and the PennDOT secretary came and stuck around in Erie County for a while.
Yeah, the Department of Public Safety is there for exactly that reason. The National Guard was housed out of the Department of Public Safety. Our facility is designed for things like that.
That's remarkable. All righty. Again, we covered that it's private. You could have two-way, and county officials encouraging all residents businesses, schools, community organizations to register for the Genesis Alert. And again, all you got to do is go to eriecountypa.gov, click on that alert, that bell, and get the registration process going. I want to talk about this second big revelation that we heard on Friday about updated dispatch procedures. Can you kind of walk us through that, John?
Sure. Yeah. EMS is a topic in Erie County that I'm sure you've heard a lot about.
Sure.
And it's something that we're always working on, finding ways to improve and make a little bit more efficient. So this policy actually went into effect April 1st. Let it run for some time, make sure that it works, kind of work the kinks out, and then the county executive was able to make that announcement. So what it is really prioritizing or deprioritizing the lowest level emergencies. In our system, they're called alpha level. They're BLS priority 2 calls. So at the 911 center, we use national protocols to evaluate the severity of when somebody calls 911. Every call starts with the address of your emergency and then tell me exactly what happened. The call takers take that information and they process it through a protocol system. At the end of that process, it generates a level of severity. So what we're talking about is alpha level calls, BLS priority 2.
Can you identify what that might look like?
Sure. It could be like I twisted my ankle. I can't walk, so I can't drive myself to the hospital, but I am not going to die from this. If I wait here for an hour for an ambulance, or if an ambulance comes in 10 minutes, I am not going to die from this. That kind of thing.
Do you really get calls, I stubbed my toe?
Yeah. Not, maybe not specifically I stubbed my toe, but alpha level, probably between 10 to 15,000 a year.
Out of how many calls a year?
160,000 911 calls come in, calls for dispatch.
So
EMS
we're close
calls.
to 10%.
Well, there's probably 50,000 EMS calls.
Oh, okay.
So even higher.
So more than 50%.
Yeah.
That is a lot.
Yeah. And, you'll see a lot of public education about, don't call 911 for this, go to urgent care, have a friend drive you to the hospital, that kind of thing. The feedback that we get from that is a lot of people just don't have any other options. I can't take myself. I don't have anybody that can take me. I can't get to urgent care. So the nice thing about this policy change is we're not saying we're not going to send you an ambulance. Anybody that calls 911 gets an ambulance if they request it. This is just saying we have to make sure that we handle the highest level priority calls first, and then you'll get your ambulance.
What was precipitating that problem? Understanding that, alpha calls don't need to be quickly dealt with, but what was happening was we were really like making mutual aid go, my words, go crazy for things that could be more done in order, I would think.
Yeah, it's more a domino effect.
Okay.
So before this policy change, if the home agency was not available, mutual aid was immediately dispatched, and they would come from wherever. And we're talking about for a low priority call, non-emergent call.
I mean, literally people coming from Wattsburg to go to Girard. I mean, that kind of distance.
Yeah, probably not usually that far. So I think it's.
But I heard some stories.
Yeah. Sometimes things like that do happen. I think it's important when we talk about EMS in Erie County and crisis levels and things like that. It's important that we start at every EMS call in Erie County gets an ambulance. Okay. We don't have anybody that's called 911 in the last, years that nobody showed up. It might be like we talked about, mutual aid has to come from a different municipality. But if we start at that baseline of everybody gets an ambulance, we don't have people out there that called 911 and nobody showed up. I think that's an important distinction.
Okay, that's good to know.
Mill Creek Township has a lot of calls. They have a lot of residents. They're second largest to the city of Erie. So this stacking policy helps them out a lot. They have a paid EMS agency, Mill Creek Paramedic Service, and they pick somebody up, they're going to the hospital, and another low priority emergency comes in. So that call is stacked to them, and they say, go drop your patient off at the hospital and then come back and get the next one. That might seem like it's only affecting Mill Creek Township, but it is also keeping every mutual aid agency in service.
Okay.
So normally, let's say maybe Perry Highway ambulance would have to go to Mill Creek for that mutual aid call. Now an emergency comes in Perry Highway. So now the ambulance is coming from McCain. Now a call comes in McCain, and that ambulance has to come from Edinburgh. So it's that domino effect.
Wow.
So what this is saying is everybody kind of stay where you are. Nobody's going to die if we let this ambulance go to the hospital and then come back and pick this patient up. Keep mutual aid in service. And then if Edinburgh ends up in Summit because of this domino effect, and then a cardiac arrest comes in Edinburgh, that's a bad situation for everybody involved.
So a cardiac arrest, for example, would be a P1? Is that what you would call that?
Yep.
Are there just the 2 levels, or are
So
there?
there's 4, actually technically 5 levels.
5 levels, okay.
We're talking about alpha as the lowest level.
Yeah.
Echo would be the highest. So during that 911 interrogation, if you were to say this person is not breathing, then that becomes an echo level, and help is immediately dispatched.
Wow.
So somebody is automatically going. If the home agency is not in service, mutual aid is going, first responders are going in that echo level situation. Your Delta, your Charlie are ALS, advanced life support calls. So they need a paramedic. Mutual aid goes immediately if those calls come in, that kind of thing. Bravo is a BLS priority 1. So it does not require advanced life support, but it is still a priority 1 call. Mutual aid still goes on those. If the home agency is not available, mutual aid is immediately dispatched. It's really just alpha levels.
And do you think that this will really help the number of delayed calls by being able to stack these? We're not talking about a situation where we can daisy chain a pickup, or can we? Can I pick up a twisted ankle on my way?
No.
Okay.
No. So the EMS providers have regulations that they have to follow.
Sure.
They can't make a stop in each municipality. It would be nice maybe an EMS bus so you can take everybody. But
that's not a bad. No,
right. And it really, discretion is involved.
Yeah, sure.
So like we talked about Mill Creek Paramedic Service, they are border the city of Erie. They are close to the hospital. When the dispatch center gets a call that they think fits this category, they contact that ambulance and say, we have this call, would you like to stack it? And we let that ambulance decide. Okay. So Union City ambulance is obviously a lot farther out. They might say, we're just leaving Union City Borough, please send mutual aid to that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a combination. The dispatch center triages the call and says this fits into this category, and then they reach out to that ambulance to say, we think you should stack this, do you want to take it or do you want to give it to mutual aid?
So is there any word that you want to say for those? Again, the key is to not discourage people from calling 911. We don't want to go there, right?
Right. Like I said, there are public education campaigns out there. You've seen them in Erie County. You've seen them from your local EMS providers. There are situations that you do not need to call 911 for, and there are situations that you should absolutely call 911 for. What we are saying is we're not making a judgment. If you need to call 911, even though it's a twisted ankle, do that. It is a strain on the EMS service for them to respond for a non-emergency, but we're not going to deny anybody an ambulance.
Yeah. But if you don't have to call 911 and you can get yourself to a non-emergency facility,
right?
You probably are going to have a better experience than sitting 6 hours in the waiting room.
Yeah, there's a common misconception that if you go by ambulance that you're going to be seen faster. So maybe 10 years ago, maybe that was the case. Maybe they prioritized ambulance patients over walk-ins, but that is not the case now. If you go in by ambulance with a twisted ankle, you're going to get out of the ambulance and you're going to go sit in the waiting room just like if you drove yourself there.
How often do law enforcement do a transport to the hospital? Is that rare?
If there is a medical emergency, they would not transport.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe somebody says, Yeah,
if it was like a psychiatric emergency, then they could transport. But a lot of times they would defer to the EMS provider.
Alrighty. So, the emergency departments prioritize patients based on medical condition, not arrival method. And again, you guys did some research before you came up with this new system, right?
Yeah, it's an important distinction that this isn't just the Erie County Department of Public Safety decided to come up with this policy.
Yeah.
There is a emergency services committee that meets, and EMS providers, public safety officials, municipal elected officials all sit on this committee, and that's where this policy came from. feedback from all the agencies that are involved, and that's where it landed.
Let's put some headphones on and grab a phone call, if you would. Hi, you're live with our friends from Erie County Public Safety. Go ahead.
I've been enjoying the conversation. Definitely a nerdy one. I used to be in the fire department. So
okay, there you go.
But quickly, just kind of a weird question, but I've always been curious. Joel, I think I brought this up in your program like a year ago. And maybe they could answer this. When you call an ambulance now, it seems to be standard operating procedure to also send a fire truck. And I'm not sure what that's about. I'm not criticizing it. I'm just curious. So I'll hang up and listen.
All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, that whole concept of a first responder that way. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good point. We talked about those different levels.
Okay.
And we'll use Mill Creek Township as another example. Alpha level is just an ambulance.
Okay.
There's no fire truck. Bravo, which is a priority 1 call, a first responder comes from the fire department. Other municipalities like the city of Erie, it's even more defined. So the city of Erie Fire Department and Emergent Care have worked together to say on these specific types of calls, send us a first responder.
Okay. That is really helpful information, John, because I thought they rolled on everything.
No.
And we're seeing Tower 2, a $2 million truck, come, in front of our studio nearly every day.
Yeah.
But that's not the case.
No, they have defined, Tower 2 is not going on an ankle injury. The only time Tower 2 is going on an ankle injury is if they need help getting that patient out of the house.
Yeah. And again, next door we've had real fires and so on. I mean, understood when that happens,
Right.
but that is a very helpful clarifying answer. Thank you so
that
much.
factors into the stacking policy too. So
now, does like West County and East County have those same kind of protocols?
Yes. So each area, ultimately the municipality decides what kind of calls those go on. Typically they defer that to the fire department, figure these kind of things out. There are some agencies that are dispatched on every call, and there are some agencies that first respond on just certain types of calls. If you use Fairfield Fire Department as an example, fire department that also has an ambulance.
Right.
So every EMS call, regardless of the level, Fairfield Fire Department would be dispatched on.
Okay.
When we look at Westridge Fire Department, does not have an ambulance, but has quick response vehicles. They would, depending on the severity of the call, whether or not they would be dispatched.
Okay.
That's another distinction with so stacking a call.
Yeah.
Let's say we stack that call and we know it's going to be 40 minutes or 20 minutes before the ambulance can go. That's when the fire department would be notified. This ambulance is delayed. If you're available, please QRS to this call.
Can I ask you a really nerdy question? So I grew up watching Emergency on Channel 12.
Okay.
And again, they had 2 paramedics on a truck. The transporting was coming from somewhere else.
Sure.
It seemed like they were able to go and make that call as a first responder. Again, this is from the 70s, mind you, as a teenager. This is what I could never understand, why we have to roll full engine companies here in the city for these EMS first responders calls. But I was told that they can't leave the truck back of the ranch if they have to go on to another real fire call.
Right.
Is that how that works?
Yeah, so those are agency level decisions.
Okay.
But that is most likely the reason why they're doing that. So if you sent 2 people in
a F-150
in a pickup truck to go QRS to this medical, and then you get a fire and it's the opposite direction. At some point, they have to meet back together. So through their process, their study, their research, they've determined that the best bet is to keep all of them together on the apparatus.
Okay, I appreciate that very much. Finally, to pick on your 17 years of experience at public safety?
17 at Erie County Public Safety, about 25 years in general.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Is EMS getting any better? Are we starting to move the needle better in Erie County from this crisis moment that I keep hearing about?
Yeah, and I think that's important where we have that distinction of crisis. Like I said, I think a more appropriate term would be on the verge. So every EMS call gets answered, right? Like we talked about. It is a combination of paid EMS agencies, it's a combination of volunteers, It's a combination of volunteer and paid staff working together. All of those things make it so that every EMS call gets answered. I think we are on the verge of what could be a crisis. There's a crisis when it comes to staffing levels of people wanting to get into EMS, a crisis level of people wanting to maybe join the volunteer fire departments. But it's important that we recognize that there are volunteers, EMS, firefighters answering calls every day. Without them, the system truly would be in crisis. So, a lot of people like to say that the days of volunteer are dead. I don't think that's true. I think there are less volunteers, for sure. Stacking BLS Priority 2 calls helps that as well. If you're volunteering your time, you want to do that for a true emergency. You don't want to do that for somebody that has ankle pain that's going to take you 2 hours to get them to the hospital and back. So I think that, like I said, there is that concern that we're on the verge. I think that Erie County, this policy, everything that is done is steps in the right direction. One policy does not fix an EMS problem. All of these things together can fix it.
I can only imagine what we're going to have in 5 years, where that person that hurt their leg calls a driverless vehicle and gets transported
or
that
a drone.
Way. Or a drone. I appreciate it. John Durlin and John Stehlin from the county of Erie. Congratulations on this rollout of the Genesis alert. And again, you can register right there at eriecountypa.gov. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us.
You've been listening to The Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast from TalkErie.com. Subscribe to our show on your favorite podcatcher and get involved by emailing joel@TalkErie.com.